Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. Today I have 5 9.8 comics I made money on. And be sure to check out my recent video where I lost money on some 9.8 comics. I'll throw the link up here if you want to check out that one. But okay, let's have a look here. First one. It's a Star Wars #1 from 1977. Yeah, kind of the key issue to get if you're a big Star Wars fan for sure. First appearance of Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and the gang. So luckily, I made some money on this one over time, for sure. I'd purchased mine in 2018, so it was kind of before the channel even started. I started the channel in early 2019, and was able to grab this one for $930 in late 2018. So some recent prices on a Star Wars #1, $4,700 and $5,499. So going down is a pretty solid comic book investment for myself, for sure. And you know, at the time, this one was just making so much sense. Like, it was just a great value. You know, a lot of kind of hardcore Star Wars fans at the time were kind of hating on all the movies that had come out, and for good reason. Like, I really didn't like any of the new, you know, I never really loved all the new movies. Like, they were okay, but you know, I sort of understood that. But that at the time kind of kept this book really affordable, and definitely around $930 in a 9.8 at the time I thought was a phenomenal value. And then coronavirus happened, and then The Mandalorian happened, which really just 180 shifted everyone. From all of a sudden, everyone just realized how much they love Star Wars when it's done right. And you know, The Mandalorian was a huge hit. This one absolutely exploded in value. I think at one point it was at like 7,000, sort of peak comic book market hype with the stimulus checks and all that. That was about a year and a half ago. But right now, $4,700, $5,499. Yeah, absolutely going down as a good comic book investment. On the census, 696 9.8s in a blue label, and a 6% is the 9.8 ratio. This is a 70s book, so you'd expect it to be pretty tough in a 9.8, but that is pretty phenomenal. Of all graded copies, only 6% of them are 9.8. So Star Wars #1, still kind of making sense, to be honest. Just a huge brand. Star Wars is going to be around for like 50 or 100 years, so it is, like a lot of times I just mention it as, you know, a no-brainer comic book investment. Unfortunately, it's pretty expensive right now, but close to $4,700, I think is a pretty great deal for a great-looking one. 9.8 white pages, $5,499. Another one had sold for as well. If you're in the market for a Star Wars #1, those are some recent prices. All right, next one. Let's have a look here. Get this standing up first. Don't want them to fall on my other comics. Next one, An Ultimate Fallout #4. Yeah, this was one I was so happy I kind of got in there and grabbed one. It was kind of mid to late 2019. Yeah, and I did make a video for this one when I had purchased it. I grabbed it for, it was like $360. I think it was even a little less, 350 something, but we'll kind of round up to $360. Even during that time, it was a screaming deal on this one. Like, they were sort of going mostly for like $400 to $450. And I remember I just saw kind of a stealthy auction. I had a really good feeling about it because it was just kind of one book thrown up by a seller, pretty stealthy auction, but good pictures and everything. And I did get a really good deal on it at the time, $360. So over time, this one has done so well, as I think most people would know. Recent price on this one, $3,150. So yeah, going down as a great comic book investment from late 2019, around $360 to now $3,150. Note about this price as well. They were about $3,500. Like, I think one went for $3,600 like a month ago. I made quite a few videos. Like, you know, just wait a second here. Like, I think this one is going to cool down just a little bit. The Across the Spider-Verse teasers just came out. And yeah, you know what? A month later, $3,150 is definitely better than buying one for $3,500. So, you know, save yourself $300-400. Just being a little patient on An Ultimate Fallout 4. But I've said in those videos, like, if it gets near 3,000, you probably want to get in there and grab one. Like, it is just pretty much the modern CGC 9.8 comic to invest in, I think. Ultimate Fallout 4, first appearance of Miles Morales in the first print. And on the census, it looks great for, like, you know, a huge key issue, obviously, like the biggest key issue in the modern age, pretty much. There's 3,000 9.8s in a blue label. Yeah, right on the dot this morning on the census, 3,000 in a blue label, a 1 of 3,000. But 26% is the 9.8 ratio. That's really favorable for like a brand new comic book. This one, you know, just coming out in the last 10 or 15 years. Of all graded copies, only 26% of them are 9.8. So kind of 1 in 4 are 9.8s. That's really great for a modern comic book. So this one, You know, when I purchased mine for $360, I was like, wow, big first appearance of new Spider-Man, pretty tough in a 9.8 for a modern comic book. Like, I see quite a lot of upside for this one. On that video too that I like bought this one, I said that it would be a really good candidate to kind of grab like 3 or 4 or 5 here, because I think like just the new Spider-Man is going to be one to have over time. And I wish I did that. I only have one of them in the first print, but yeah, I wish I kind of got in there and grabbed a few more around 400, but don't we all, I guess. So you know what, a great one in the 9.8, a pretty tough 9.8 in the modern age. And yeah, 3,150 a recent sale if you're looking to purchase an Ultimate Fallout 4 in the first print 9.8. All right, another one I had made some money on for sure, and I got 2 of these in a 9.8, a Batman 423. Yeah, just being a big Batman and McFarlane fan, this is one I absolutely targeted right off the bat, kind of getting into 9.8 comics. Bought 2 of them. They were pretty much right around 450. I think one was like 410. The other one was pretty much $450. I think one was in 2018, one was in 2019, so certainly before the kind of the hot comic COVID market and everything like that. Recent prices on this one, $2,500. With the Batman movie out right now, like I just did a McFarlane video about some McFarlane books that are cooling down, and I kind of wanted to put this one on, but it's not really cooling down. $2,500 is pretty much nicking around like it's all-time high price with the Batman movie out. So, you know, there's some Batman fans out there wanting to get some big Batman key issues. So, yeah, wow, you know, 400 to 450 up to 2,500 on this one. Going down as a solid investment. On the census, 198 9.8s in a blue label. And 10.4%, the 9.8 ratio. So, yeah, just one that looks phenomenal on the census. Not a lot of them out there. If you're, you know, into McFarlane and Batman, this is kind of the book to get. There's only 198 of them, so you can kind of understand how the price is getting up there. $2,500 on a recent sale for a Batman 423. Yeah, so glad I bought 2 of those too. Okay, next one over here. I'll make sure this one doesn't fall. Amazing Spider-Man 300. Yeah, I talked about this one on that McFarlane video. This one is cooling down just a little bit, but still over time has done pretty phenomenal for me as a comic book investment. I got 2 of them in a 9.8. The one in the old case was the one I kind of overpaid for. I made a video. It was like one of the first 5 or so videos I did on how I overpaid for an Amazing Spider-Man 300. In that old case, it was $2,500 for that one. And then in 2019, I think it was 2019, late 2019, I grabbed this one in a new case for a $1,980 plus $20 shipping. Yeah, I remember that this sale specifically. So we'll just call it 2,000, and I got another one for 2,500. Recent prices: 5,201, 5,400, and 5,605. So yeah, you know, a solid double and a little bit on this one. You know, and luckily I grabbed 2 of them, and just a great one moving forward as well, with it being really tough on the census in a 9.8. We talked about that on the last video we did. 1,233 9.8s, and 5.3% is the 9.8 ratio. So just a tough one to get a 9.8 in. And if you're looking to purchase this one now, yeah, the price range is kind of 5,201 to 5,605 on Comic Link. Just 3 of them sold in the last week or so. So that's a really good price range if you're in the market for an Amazing Spider-Man 300. Yeah, so glad I bought 2 of those, that's for sure. Okay, last one here of some comic books I made money on. A Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures #1. This is a Canadian edition, Canadian price variant though, and it's a signature series signed by Kevin Eastman right here. It's kind of signed in gold, so you can't really see it that good, to be honest, but you know, in kind of the flesh, when you put it up against the light, you can absolutely see it, so it's not too bad of a sig. But for this one, gonna go down as absolutely making some money on it. I paid $400. This was in 2020. Yeah, this was one it was like the weekend before the hot comic book market just started, you know, really going up in price. I kind of snatched at this one. It just seemed like right after I bought this one, the prices just absolutely just started to get astronomical on pretty much every key issue in the 9.8. This was about a year and a half ago. But I paid $400 for this one, and it was in Canada as well too. Yeah, definitely one I kind of snatched at. So pretty tough to find some sales in this one, because you know what, on the census there's only 2 of these. Canadian edition, 9.8, signed one of two, this one. 14.3% is the 9.8 ratio on the signature series part of the census for this one. So interesting, I'm seeing a Canadian price variant in a 9.8 on eBay right now, and it's $2,047.99. It might be or best offer. That might just be a flat buy it now. But that's a not signed Canadian edition. So, you know what, I think if this one you kind of threw it up in an auction, I have a feeling it would probably go around that price, like a one of two Canadian edition signed by Kevin Eastman. The blue label one is up on eBay right now for $2,047. This will probably go in an auction for about $2,000, I would say. But it could be one. I think this one is one to hold on to, I would say, because with there only being two of this, I think over time this is a really good Turtles book. And this one I think has some potential. This is one I'm holding on to. You know, a one of two. You know, maybe in 10 years I just throw it up and maybe I can get $5,000 or $10,000 for it if it's still like, you know, a one of five maybe at that time or something like that. But definitely like a super tough one, and at $400, I mean, yeah, we'll just say that they'll probably go for around $2,000 now. That's a pretty phenomenal comic book investment, absolutely. 2 in the 9.8 on the blue label, 14.3% the 9.8 ratio. So yeah, just so glad I snatched at this one. Getting such a rare book. I remember there was only 2 on the census when I had purchased it too. So there's still only 2. And I remember looking at it and I was like, oh wow, that's, you know, probably because I'm not into signature series books too much. And then I looked on the census, there was only 2. I'm like, I have to buy this at $400 back then. A one of two. And so glad I did. I think that one will do pretty phenomenal over time. Okay, so a couple books here I made some money on. I think these are the, you know, some books I made a pretty decent amount of money on, admittedly. But you know what? There are a lot of books that I had made some money on pretty much, and it's a good sort of example, kind of compared to the last video where I'd lost money on. All of the ones I lost money on were pretty much new modern comic books that had came out in the last 10 years. Whereas all the ones that I'd made money on, which are pretty much all the other ones that I bought in 2019 and 2020, those are all like 1980s, 1990s key issues that have done really well, and I've pretty much made money on almost all of them. And yeah, it just goes to show you, like in modern age, like a book that's come out in the last 10 years, maybe you're taking your chances. Whereas some of these just classic 1980s books that are tough to find in a 9.8, you get them at a fair value and you hold them over time, you're probably going to do pretty fantastic. And that's basically what's happened to me. All right, team. Yeah, great to hash it out and share a couple books that I made some money on. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. If you're liking my content, please subscribe and hit that bell, and I'll keep you updated on future videos.